Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 21st, 2023, and we're getting into the volume 69 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all your comments pulled up here. As always, I'm going to mention in the beginning, I'm not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State. I provide all the sources, so if you ever need to do any additional research, you can find all the links in the description of each video that I make. Alright, let's start with the very first question from Betty Work. What type of forms to use for kids under age 4 on the humanitarian parole program instead of application for work permit in order, I guess, for them to apply for Social Security? Please, thank you. Betty, of course, thank you for your question. So whenever it comes to applying specifically for Social Security number, if it's the very first one or if it's a card, whether it's the first one or the replacement, you are dealing with Social Security Administration. All right. Now, Social Security Administration, they have own Social Security offices throughout the United States, so you can most likely find their office nearby. But if you do need to do more research, I'm gonna actually post a reply, and also I'll give you the link. It's the official government website for Social Security Administration, and it is ssa.gov. I'm gonna put link, and there you will be able to find the information on how to submit the very first application. If it's the very first Social Security number, if it's never been issued before, especially for kids, you will find all the information there. So I'm going to do that, and we're going to move on to the next question from Ted Murray. Priority F1, priority date 4th March 2015, documentarily qualified October 2020. Ted, thank you for the question. Let's take a look at the Visa Bulletin, May 2023. Priority, preference, the first priority preference. I don't know what's going on today, but family preference category F1. And if you look at the Visa Bulletin right now, it's showing January 2017. So the immigrant visa, because your priority date is back in March 2015, we know for a fact, and you're already documentarily qualified, so we know for a fact that your immigrant visa is already available. The only reason why you're still waiting, the only reason why you still have not had your interview, is because we are dealing with that post-pandemic kind of artificial backlog. That's what I call it. Please don't confuse it with the backlog in general that all the categories experience because of the limited availability of immigrant visas, right? So we have a certain amount of immigrant visas for each category that is available each year. If there's more applications than that, this excess applications get rolled over to the next year. And then obviously more applications that year, again, a rollover. So the more the rollover, the more of that backlog that we have, all right? Now, however, the backlog that we see with people that are already documentarily qualified, the people that already definitely have their immigrant visas available, like yourself, but they're still waiting, and they're waiting for about 2.5 years. How do we know that? We know that from the previous release of the Visa Bulletin for April 2023. It finally showed us an update on the F2A category for documentarily qualified people in F2A category, and we see that the people who have been documentarily qualified with immigrant visas available, because we know that F2A was always current, all right, so they didn't have the problem with the availability of immigrant visas. We see that they wait about 2.5 years for their immigrant interviews to be scheduled. So with all of that being said, because you were already documentarily qualified in October 2020, you are about 2.5 years already due for that interview. So it literally, in your case, it should be anywhere around the corner. But if you want to take some action and actually follow up with NVC to see what's going on, there are two things you can do. You can do one with NVC, which is a public inquiry form. It's very straightforward. Now, if you go to Visa Bulletin, you will find this link for the Visa Bulletin in the description below. You will see at the very top here, you will go to Contact Us. I'm going to open it in New tab. And then click on US Visas Contacts. And then scroll down. And if you know that already, I'm sorry, I'm being repetitive. But for everyone who's watching, if you need to find a public inquiry form specifically with the NVC, this is it right here. You click on that, and here's the form. It's very straightforward. Just be polite, professional in your inquiry, and that's really it. And another thing that you can do, Ted, is you can also reach out to the local US embassy of the beneficiary, right, in the country where the beneficiary is, and follow up with them and just see, if they can tell you how long approximately it takes to schedule those immigrant visa interviews for them right now, because they know better, because it is them that have your case and they're just waiting for an available slot to schedule that interview. They might not give you that information, but it's worth a shot. But regardless, whether you decide to inquire with NVC or US Embassy or not, it should be really anywhere around the corner. Anywhere around the corner. All right, let's move on to the next one from Fazna Mansour. Please, can anyone suggest me the best lawyer in New York State near Suffern? I have been processing my case for 10 months in NVC. My current lawyer isn't active. He doesn't show any interest to upload my documents. I'm tired with this process, so please help me. Fazna, I'm very sorry you're dealing with this. Unfortunately, it's quite common, that you experience stuff like this with immigration attorneys. That's why I always say, if you do need an immigration attorney, shop around, do your research. All right, do your research online. Because whenever it comes to the whole area, the whole field of legal, it's huge. All right, there's a lot of there's immigration law, there is a whole bunch of different areas of law. Even within the immigration law, there's a whole bunch of different areas. Some attorneys, they specialize in asylum cases. Some attorneys specialize in employment. Some they specialize in family reunification cases. All right. So if you're dealing specifically with family reunification, you want to find someone who specializes in that. All right. So what you do is online, you do the best research you can. You find all of the immigration attorneys that specialize in family immigration, all right, in your area. You call all of them. If you cannot talk to an attorney over the phone, that's probably not the attorney that you want to deal with. And I'm sorry, if you're yourself an attorney and you're watching this, you're probably not gonna like this, because you're gonna say, well, it's a big office, I'm busy, I can't talk to everybody who calls the office, blah, 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 bunch of excuses. I understand. But here's the thing. Somebody is about to trust you with their life. Think about this. Whenever we're talking about family reunification, it is somebody's lives that are at stake. It's the family. It's one of the most important, precious things that we have. It's the family, all right? And they come to you to get that help from you, from the attorney, and they pay you a lot of money. And you're telling me that you cannot have a conversation over the phone, and you have to have a secretary to talk to them over the phone. Stay away from attorneys like this. So that's one of the things that you want to talk to an attorney over the phone. And one of the things that I always say, they don't hold anything back. Over the phone, they explain you the situation, they explain how the process is going to be, they explain approximately how much it's going to cost, they explain approximately how long it's going to take, all right? And they say that, hey, if you want to come to my office and talk to me about this in person, free consultation, coming in, all right? This is, and I actually, from my personal experience, okay, I have seen attorneys like this. They do exist, all right? They do exist. Somebody that I can say, go to that attorney and they will take care of you. They do exist. You just have to find them. It takes some time, but you have to find them. And you will filter through pretty quickly. If you call somebody, you can't talk to an attorney, that's not somebody you want to deal with. You want to come in and have a consultation, and they charge you, $300 to what? For 10 minutes of them explaining you what you can find on the website, on the government website, official, all that information. That's not the attorney that you want to deal with. If somebody's being a little bit, not straightforward with how much it's going to cost approximately, I understand there are some fees here and there. If they have to file something again, something is not accepted, and they have to refile it, okay, additional fees associated, that's understandable. But any attorney can, for the most part, whenever it comes to immigration process in general, they can give you a pretty accurate number, all right, of how much it's going to cost, because it's their service. All the application fees are the same, biometric fees are the same, mailing fees are the same. It literally comes down to attorney fees, all right? So do your shopping around, find, 5, maybe more if you can, attorneys that you like, that you were able to talk over the phone, that offer free consultation, and go to each of those attorneys. And after that, it will be pretty easy to see which one you want to work with, which one you want to actually trust your case to. I would not rely too much on just literally anybody random recommending you and say, oh yeah, call that guy, he's a good guy. You have to find someone yourself. That's very, very important. And even if you do work with an attorney, the last kind of advice I want to give you is make sure that you still stay on top of your case, all right? Meaning that you know what's going on, you know how the process works, which stage it is in. If you need to file inquiry, if you need to do something, you know how to do it, all right? They have to do it for you, but you yourself know how to do it, how to operate within this whole immigration system that we have. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Mark Tungol. Mark, thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. Appreciate that. Is it the USCIS filing fee will increase to $820? Sir, do you know? Mark, I'm not sure which specific application or petition you were asking me about. I honestly would not be surprised if the prices go up. The prices were, they keep going up for literally everything, and USCIS, all these government stuff is no exception at all. I mean, they are already huge application fees, but they keep growing more and more, and a lot of applications we have seen in the recent years, they went up in price. So whichever application you're asking about, honestly, I would not be surprised if it does go up and become, I mean, they're all already, like I said, expensive, and the 820 is crazy expensive for something just, a paper form that you are, it's nuts. I don't want to get into this conversation, but yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It's getting worse. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Wahak Y. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. For the refugee travel document I-131, it shows that case was updated to show fingerprints were taken for 2 months, and my flight is in 20 days. However, I have a green card already. Oh. Will I have trouble traveling to another country, let's say Armenia or France, or will I have trouble at the border? Vahak, I'm kind of, I want to ask you a little bit for a follow-up, a little bit of clarification. So if I understand correctly, you applied for the refugee travel document before you had a green card. And while you were waiting for the refugee travel document, which you still are, you were able to get the permanent resident card. So if you have a permanent resident card now, you don't need the travel document at all. All right. Really, the only thing you need is a valid passport. All right, because you do, for air travel, you do need a passport. And when you're entering the United States, you will be entering the United States as a permanent resident. So you will just show your permanent resident card at the port of entry in the airport, and that's really it. So if this is the case, like I described it, you applied for a travel document, and while you were waiting for the travel document to show up, you got your permanent residence. But if you did have your permanent residence and you still applied for the refugee travel document, you really don't need that refugee travel document because you already have a permanent resident. Unless unless you were outside of the country longer than, I think they might have increased from 6 months to 1 year for permanent residence, because with the permanent residence, technically it's not a good idea to be outside of the United States for, I think it's either 6 months or 1 year. I think it is 1 year now, unless it's a good reason, unless there's a good reason. Again, most of the times they don't create problems, but sometimes if they want to, they can. And you want to get that kind of like a advanced parole, basically, to enter the United States back, because you've been outside of the United States longer than permissible, right? In that case, yes, maybe. But please, if you can, let me know with a follow-up comment. I would really appreciate it. Maybe I can give you a little bit more information. Just make sure, please, don't respond to my comment within your comment, because then I don't see that comment at all. It's not coming up. Please submit it as a separate comment. All right, moving further. Okay, so again, another one from Wahak on another video. I'm gonna post this so you're aware that I answered it. And moving further to Anas, thank you, your information is correct. Charlie, a former YouTube employee, spoke about the May Bulletin. The F1, F2B, F3, F4 category will move in the next few months, except for F2A. Well, yeah, F2A, we did see already the movement in the April visa bulletin. So we do have updated information for F2A documentarily qualified cases, all right, in the documentarily qualified graph. But, you know, I think for F2A as well, we might see that speed up, and I think we're gonna see the movement on F2A as well. I think it's gonna start moving further and faster. Why? Again, because it's not a real backlog, okay? And I don't want to confuse anyone by saying that, but it is not the real backlog that we're dealing with, okay? The real backlog is, like I was explaining earlier, is associated with limited number of immigrant visas. What we see right now, documentarily qualified people waiting for their interviews for years, for 2 years. What's Ted, he's waiting for, since October 2020, he's documentarily qualified, and his immigrant visa is already available because they're at 2017 and he's in 2015 priority date. His visa is available and he's documentarily qualified, and he's waiting for over 2 years now for his interview. That's not the real backlog that we see in the visa bulletin. That's that artificial backlog from the closures during the pandemic. And I think it will clear out faster. I think it took, for some people, unfortunately, like Ted, it took a really, really long time. But I think it will start clearing out faster because, again, there is no limitation on how many interviews. I mean, it's just the time, really. As many interviews they can schedule, they will schedule. And they're not limited by the amount, like, for example, the immigrant visas. Hopefully it makes sense. But if anyone has questions about this, don't hesitate to ask them. And as many questions as you have, they're very welcome on this channel. I'll never be, upset with anyone that they ask too many questions, because it is thanks to your questions that I have these videos. All right, let's move on to the next one from Latifa Malik. F2A priority date 2017, documentarily qualified 2020 September. When star will interview? Wow, Latifa. Okay, so I have good news for you. So I'm gonna open actually the visa bulletin for May 2023, and we're gonna look at the documentarily qualified graph, which is this graph right here, graph A, final action dates. For some reason, some people still confuse this with priority dates. I don't know why. I think there is a source somewhere hiding that is giving incorrect information, but this is documentarily qualified dates. If we look at the F2A, right now the interviews are being scheduled for those, well, let me be accurate with this information. Right now, the immigrant visas are being given to the people that were documentarily qualified back in September 2020. The final action was taken on September 2020, which is becoming documentarily qualified. And they are right now, as of April, May 2023, they are getting their immigrant visas, which means they're getting their interviews scheduled for immigrant visas. Because you go for an interview, if everything goes well, That's it. The visa is yours. You leave your passport, you come back tomorrow, and you get your passport with that I-551 stamp. September 2020, and you are documentarily qualified in September 2020, and you are in F2A category, so you will have your interview scheduled literally anytime now. So if you, I would give it another, by the end of May max. I would give it another month max. And if nothing happens, I think within the next months you will have your interview scheduled. But if you don't, I would definitely recommend submitting that public inquiry that I was talking about earlier in this video with NVC, and also reaching out to the US Embassy and seeing when the interview, if they give you that information. You can do that now. You don't have to wait another month, but I think within the next month you will have that interview scheduled, because that's what we are seeing right now from the visa bulletin. All right, let me make sure I post this before I forget, and we're gonna move on to the next question from Harbir Narwal. Hello sir, F3 India priority date 15 December 2009, when I expect to receive welcome letter. All right, let's take a look, Harbir. We're gonna go to the, instead of the graph A, we're gonna go to graph B now, because we're talking about the priority dates, and that's what the graph B is showing us, dates for filing. That's the priority date when USCIS received your I-130 petition, or the I-130 petition for you if you're a beneficiary. So F3, this is the category, and we are talking about India. India, they have their separate chargeability area. So if we look at the third preference category, India, it's showing right now February 2010. Let's take a look at yours. You are December 2009. Okay, so let me ask you, Harbir, because according to the visa bulletin, your immigrant visa should already be available. And if your immigrant visa should already be available, it means that most likely you should be either already documentarily qualified or in documentarily, being documentarily in the process of becoming documentarily qualified. So basically what I mean is that you should have your full access to the NVC portal. So if you can, submit a follow-up comment and let me know whether you were already documentarily qualified or you're in the process, because that would be helpful for me to give you, a little bit more of kind of a rough estimates. But if you still do not have the access to the NVC portal, I'm assuming your USCIS case should have been approved already, the USCIS part. If it is, so if your USCIS case is approved, but you still don't have access to the NVC portal, I would recommend, like I showed, doing that public inquiry form with NVC. I would definitely recommend doing that. But again, if you can, let me know in a follow-up comment. I would really appreciate it, and I might be able to give you just a little bit more information. All right, moving further to Ali. Hi there. Thank you so much. And the heart, Ali, thank you for watching and asking questions. Again, guys, without your questions, these videos, they would not be possible. So it is thanks to you. I'm just answering questions. All right, let's move on to the next one from Joseph Jata. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Sir, how can you help me out with this priority? I-130 July 26, 2022. Okay, so priority date is in July 2022 and it's I-130. Okay, Joseph, I definitely gonna need a little bit more information to give you some rough estimates. Please let me know the category, which family preference category it is, and also all the chargeability area would be helpful. But those two things, the category, definitely the category, that's the least. I definitely need to give you some rough estimates. All right, let's move on to the next one from Marites. Actually, before I forget, let me do this because I will forget. And we're gonna move on to Marites Ramos. F2B update, please. My priority date is October 2019. Can any chance to expedite my case? Marites, let's take a look. There might be. Let's take a look. So priority date October 2019, and we know it is F2B. So we're gonna take a look at, again, priority dates, graph B, F2B. So all chargeability area is showing January 2017, and you are in October 2019. Okay, so roughly, according to the visa bulletin, as what we see right now, 2 more years, roughly. But again, this is very rough estimate because we are now seeing the updates. Finally, we haven't seen updates in a long time. Some of the categories we haven't seen updates for as long as like 2 years, and now we're finally seeing the movement. So I think in the next few months it will become a little bit clearer how long you have to wait. But as of right now, 2 years. With that being said, unfortunately, the only way to file, and I think it's going to be helpful for everyone else who's watching, the requirements to be able to file that expedited request with NVC are 2 things. First, you have to be documentarily qualified with NVC. And second, you have to have your immigrant visa be already available according to the visa bulletin. So that's the 2 requirements. And I don't think you probably are not documentarily qualified yet because there's still 2 years. So probably you're looking, if it really does take another 2 years, you're looking at about 1 year, year and a half maybe, and then they will give you the access to the NVC portal for further processing and becoming documentarily qualified. I wish, Mauritis, I could give you a little bit more better news, where I could say, yes, go ahead and file expedited request, but unfortunately they're very strict. I mean, there's nothing preventing you from sending that email. I actually have the video on how to submit an expedited request with NVC. It's literally just, an email, and you send them, with your information requesting them to expedite. But they have the requirements: documentarily qualified, immigrant visa available. And then, of course, you have to have good reason to request expedited processing. But I think anyone who has a family petition and they're waiting for years and years and years, I think everybody has a good reason. All right. Let's move on to the next one from Michael Wessling. Yes, sir. Can you explain what is meant by active in someone's immigration portal? Michael, I'm assuming you are referring to some of the stuff whenever we're talking about, active portal, the CAC NVC portal, it's active or inactive basically. If that's what you mean, and if that's not what you mean, please let me know in the follow-up comment, and I'll try to address it better. But if that's what you're referring to, basically, because you know how I-130, you submit the petition for alien relative to USCIS, all right? They review it, they approve it. Once they approve it, they transfer the case to the NVC for further processing. When the immigrant visa becomes closer to the availability of immigrant visas, the NVC, they open up the full access to the portal with access to all the links, the few applications that you need to fill out, like the affidavit of support, the visa application, pay the fees for these forms, and then submit some documents, all right, establishing the relationship, again, same thing as with USCIS, and on top of that, some financial documents, all right, for the, to show that the petitioner is able to sponsor the beneficiary, all right, he can serve as the sponsor, and that's really what it is, and a lot of times you see people whose case was approved with USCIS and it was transferred to the NVC, and they got the welcome letter from NVC, but when they log into the portal, there is nothing. The NVC portal is inactive. Why? Because the immigrant visa is still far out. There's still a couple of years to the immigrant visa, so that's why the portals are inactive, and that's why they are waiting. All right, let's again. If you meant something different, please let me know, and I'll try to address it better. All right, let's move on to probably our very last question for today, because we're already getting to the 30-minute mark. From Mauritis Ramos, F2B. Is there any chance to expedite? Okay, Mauritis already answered your question in the previous one. Moving further. Again from Mauritis, I'm the petitioner F2B category. Can I do expedite in my case? So I already addressed that. And from Swaran Dawar. All right, my son filed I-130 on 11 July 2022 online for his mother from India. How do we know which NVC is processing this application? We could not find, please help. Okay, Swaran, so right now, because it has been recent, in July 2022, I'm pretty sure that the case is still with USCIS, all right? And you can check the status of the case. You have the receipt number that you received on the initial notice of receipt from USCIS when the I-130 was submitted. All right, so you can put that in uscis.gov. In fact, I'll use this as an opportunity to do some demonstrate some navigation on official government website for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So this is uscis.gov. If you go to Tools right here at the very top of the navigation menu, and you can find this link in the description below, you can go to Case Status Online, and then type in your receipt number in this field right here, and it will show you the status. Okay, now if you want to find where in which service center your case is, to find that, we will have to go to the actual form I-130. And I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, let me know. And then we're gonna scroll down where to file. Let's see, direct filing addresses for Form I-130 page. Here we go. This is what we need. So this is it. This is the page right here. And depending on which state this application was filed from, again, this is not a 100% guarantee because it was filed online, so it might be going to their general electronic, which they call National Benefit Center, I think, NBC, not NVC. But this is also going to be helpful if it was filed from, for example, Colorado, then it most likely is in Phoenix Service Center. All right, in Phoenix. Well, this is their logbox. It might be there. It might be. Most likely it's in NBC. You know, I think it might be in NBC and not actually in one of the log boxes, because when they pick stuff up from the log box, they do put in that system into the National Benefit Center, which is their common electronic system. So if you can, let me know in the comments below the reason why you're trying to find which specific service center it was filed to, because if I know the reasoning, I might be able to kind of navigate you a little bit better instead of just, you know, giving everything and possibly confusing you or other people. So let me know in the follow-up comments. Again, if you're posting a follow-up comment, please don't respond to my comment within your comment, because then I don't get the notifications from YouTube for whatever reason. But that's it for today. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for asking your questions. Always appreciate your time. God bless, and I will see you in the next video.